All right. Good evening. Good evening, kids. Welcome to episode 19 of The Abyss. This is your host, The Eternal Abyss. How is everybody doing? It is hump day. Uh my Wednesday is going okay. Nothing crazy. You know, it's a Wednesday. Um Plenty of news. Plenty of news between the last episode and this episode to talk about. Uh I got to start with this. I got to start with this because this is something that is just the goofiest thing in the world. And as soon as you see the picture of who I'm talking about, everyone's going to go, yes, him. So without further ado, I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Pierre Delecto. Pierre Delecto. Yeah, this piece of work. Holy cow. We're going to start the show off strong. But before we do, hello everyone at Bitwave. Hello everyone at DLive. Hello everyone at Periscope. Hello everyone at YouTube. Thank you for joining. If there's anybody in all the platforms, and whatever, I want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for listening in on my ramblings. And if anyone wants to support my little show here, you're more than welcome to donate. Streamlabs.com/TheEternalAbyss. And also, I do have a couple goals that I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach 100 followers on YouTube and 200 followers on DLive so I can get some custom URLs and partnerships and all that fun stuff and, please my lemon overlords. So, now that I've done the shameless e-begging, got that out of the way, back to Pierre Delecto. Yes, so it's been revealed. The mastermind that is Mitt Romney apparently had a secondary ghost Twitter account called Pierre Delecto that he would use to, just kind of rattle off the nonsense that he would rattle off. Talking about how great Romney is and how awful Trump is. No, it's not too shocking to me, honestly. It's not too shocking to me that someone would have multiple accounts because that's actually pretty common. Though technically that is a violation of Twitter's terms of use. So according to Twitter's terms of use, Mitt Romney should get banned. So it's interesting. I find it interesting that as of yet, Mitt Romney's accounts are all up and alive. Even the Pierre Delecto. Oop! I saw a little drop in my stream. I just noticed that. Let me make sure that I have my proper cooling going here on my computer. There we go. So as I was saying, I find it surprising also that at least last time I checked, the Pierre Delecto account was still active, but it was protected. He protected all the tweets so nobody could see what you were doing unless you're like a follower. So, I don't know if the Pierre Delecto account's going to get blocked or Romney's accounts are going to have any consequence to this. And he admitted to it. Romney admitted that he did this baloney. Now, see, this is the thing. I've been thinking about Romney for a while. There's been a lot of talk about him even before. Hey, thank you for the lemons. Let me turn the volume up here. I appreciate that. The screen was too small for me. I didn't see. Let me increase that so I can actually see who donates to me. Let me. Yeah. Okay. Now I can see better. So I've been thinking a lot about Romney, actually, and I have some conspiracies about it, and they're purely conspiracies because I don't really have any evidence behind it. But his behavior during the second, not second, well, when Obama, the O-hole as I call him, was running for his second term, and Romney ran against him. I remember that his behavior was strange because really, all indicators would show, yes, the O-hole. Yes, G. Gallon. Because he's a-hole of Obama proportions. So he's the O-hole. So that's my loving nickname for him. So I find it very curious about how he ran his campaign. Because of all indicators at the time, I'm old enough to remember, people were talking a lot about that election. There was a lot of news coverage. There's a lot of polls. There's a lot of information back and forth and historical comparisons. And by all measures, well, not all, but nearly all measures, Obama should have lost that election. I mean, Trump has said that before, and he was right. I believe it. Obama should have lost that election. Romney, what happened, there was Hurricane Sandy was one of the big things that happened during that time. And it appears that just in the last 2 weeks of the election where they were neck to neck, really. Like if you looked at the polls back then, it was pretty damn close. And Romney just kind of disappeared. He really didn't he didn't really put a lot of effort into it. And with his behavior now being such a never Trumper and a rhino that he is, I can't help but think that perhaps he lost on purpose. And like I said, it's purely conspiratorial on my part. I'm not putting forth any real evidence except just my own opinion. This is purely opinion. I'm soapboxing for sure. But if you think about it, with all the tweets and behaviors and everything that he's done against Trump, against the Republicans, how he's actually helped Democrats, how he helped Obama get reelected, he has been a disaster for conservatives. He has been a disaster for Republicans. It just wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if that, I don't think he's a plant or anything like that. I don't think he's like a secret double agent working for the Democrats. I just think that he is a very, very weak man. He is he's a beta, essentially, in terms of his masculinity. He has a lot of issues, being that he has to create secondary accounts to hold his ego up. I mean, people talk about Trump having an ego. Good Lord. How weak are you? How insecure, that's the word I was looking for. How insecure do you have to be to create a secondary account to make yourself feel better? Wow. That just blows my mind, frankly. As Trump would say. Frankly, the best. I got to work on my Trump impersonation. I want to work on my impersonation so I can make fun of people in a more at least somewhat accurate sounding way. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that came out. Pierre Delecto. Wow. Amazing. Just amazing to me. But I don't want to waste too much time just talking about this Joker. So we're going to... I'm going to switch over to the next thing that I wanted to talk about here. This may be kind of a shorter stream. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now when it comes to governments, and I want to touch a little bit about touch on those a little bit, and because I focus a lot on American politics, but the world politics do affect us, whether I like to think about it or not. Whether I care about Canada, whether I care about Mexico, or Brazil, or Chile, or France, or Germany or any other country. Really, it's unfortunate that what they do does affect what, well, not necessarily affect us entirely, but there is an effect there. And there is something that we need to think about when things are going around in the world. We can't just ignore what's going on. So I wanna talk about our friends to the north here. Um, Let me bring this up here. There we are. Canada. Um, yeah, I this I'm gonna need a moment because whenever I think about this, I almost have to get like a little barf bag. This makes me like physically ill to think about this nonsense. So Trudeau, essentially his party won the Canadian elections that happened, I think it was yesterday actually. And they have a system there. I'm not entirely sure about how their electoral system works, but apparently his party did not get the majority of votes, but they got enough to win somehow. I'm not entirely sure how that works. I would have to study up on the Canadian electoral system and their history to see what exactly went down with that. And but beyond that, I mean, I don't know if there's any electoral fraud that happened in Canada land. But let's assume there wasn't. What is the matter with you people? Is my question. Canadians, I mean, really, really. I understand maybe you support the party and not too much the man, because sometimes that happens. You support the party, but you don't support the man that is representing the party. So you still elect that individual. I get that. However, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me when his party has been essentially complicit and protecting him and not really condemning him, and the Canadian media has been just as bad as the American media has been in trying to protect him with all the scandals he's had. And he says he's had some pretty bad ones. And I'm not even talking just about the blackface stuff, which, just to remind everybody, this individual, Trudeau, he wore blackface not once, not twice, not thrice. He wore it so many times that when asked, how many times have you worn blackface? His reply was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a count. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, this is a guy that regularly wears blackface. I mean, one time one could even maybe accept the argument that he made. Oh, it was kind of socially acceptable at the time, blah, 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 which is a lie. It wasn't acceptable at the time. Yeah, that was his defense. So it's ridiculous. His whole argument for why he wore the blackface was ridiculous. And I already covered that whole thing in another stream, so I'm not going to go too much into this. But he also had a lot of scandals within his administration where he ousted people that were calling him out for unethical behavior and illegal behavior. If I'm not mistaken, it was also illegal stuff that he was doing. And he broke rules. I don't know if he broke laws by firing these people, but he definitely abused his power. He abused his power. He behaves like a racist. Whether he really is a racist or not, I don't really care. It's not relevant to me. The fact that he just showed such a level of irresponsibility, and his justification was not even taking the blame. He barely apologized for it. He just said, "Oh, it was wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it." Blah blah blah. That's it. That's not really an apology. I don't view that as an apology. That's just trying to push blame away. And then whenever he was asked about it, just completely dodged the questions, ignored the questions. He was a complete douche about it. which isn't an impeachable offense or against the law. But if you're caught red-handed doing something really bad, you really, if you're a man, this is the thing. If you get caught doing something bad, I am more than willing to forgive and forget, partly because I'm Catholic, and that's what Catholics do. But beyond that, it's also just a matter of if you're man enough to just fess up and go, hey, you know what? I fugged it up. I really messed up bad. I'm gonna own up to it. Let's just let's focus on what we need to focus on to make this right. Then I would say, great. This guy, he's a mature individual. He's man enough to go, yeah, I screwed up. All right. Yeah, I agree, G. Gallen. The guy is, the SNC Lavalin affair. That's what I mean. Like, the blackface made a big splash in the media, but the biggest corruptions and scandals that he had is the SNC Lavalin affair. That's very true. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and yeah. So G. Gallen's saying, yeah, deplatforming is retarded too. You should be able to. I'm assuming you mean say anything or do anything as long as you're not breaking any laws. Blackface is gay but not illegal. Yeah, and I agree with that, G. Gallen. I mean, that's part of free speech. Free speech means that you can do stupid things, and you can be insulting. You can say stupid things, which reminds me, there was a law that got introduced today. This was a state law. I don't remember if it's let's see if it's still showing up in Eek. Hold on, let me see here. Wait, why is that not showing up? Hold up. Let me see if I can find this, because this was this kind of goes with, there's been news about, for example, New York passed some law that you can't say the words illegal aliens in an insulting manner. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I mean, they don't even, in a hateful manner, actually. That was the terminology. In a hateful manner. So whatever that means, I don't know. But I know that there's Massachusetts, that's what it was. Wait, was it? I think it's Massachusetts, where there's a law proposed that would fine people if they use the word bitch. Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy. We're getting into a level of insanity in government. I mean, I know that the UK has already long passed this level, but the US for a long time, free speech is sacred. It's our First Amendment. It's the first thing that our founding fathers thought about after the creation of our country and our Constitution. They're like, this is the first thing that our government needs to protect in order to ensure its longevity. And the fact that it's so under attack, and has been so under attack ever since, essentially it's been so under attack ever since Obama got elected. Because you couldn't say anything about him. Because if you did, guess what? You're racist. Even though there was plenty of material to go over when talking about him, about like what screw-ups he was causing. But no. That's fine. You can't say that he screwed up. You can't say that he was a bad president. You can't say that he's the black Jimmy Carter, which he is. I mean, Jimmy Carter was a bad president. But Obama was even worse. But no, you can't say that. You can't say that. No, that wouldn't be right because he's black. Well, guess what? You have states that are starting to attack our First Amendment and attacking free speech. It's been happening on university campuses for a very long time too. Actually, that's the other thing, and this is the biggest problem. The biggest problem with all these legislations that are coming through and all the media being so leftist and biased, which Project Veritas, actually, speaking of the bias, really went over. They recorded a lot of people at CNN, and they've been putting out a lot of videos. And it pretty much confirms everything that everybody already kind of knew. It's not like there's any major breaking crazy stuff, but you can pretty much tell the media is going crazy. And there's this personal vendetta against conservatives and especially Trump. And now even the Drudge Report has gone never Trump crazy. Like the media entity, all media entities out there, seems like they're going crazy. They're absolutely going crazy. Fox News is even going down a spiral at this point. Like if someone's a fan of Fox News, they would have realized that. I haven't watched any of the main media in quite a while. I use a lot of news aggregates to get all my news together. I just, like I mentioned before, I take a look at allsides.com. That one seems like an interesting site that shows you like different sides. I saw this new one. I'm not sure if it's any good or not, but it's called abridgenews.com. ABRID as in dog, GENEWS.com. abridgenews.com. I found it interesting because it actually just kind of gives you highlights, and then if you want to go deeper, it gives you highlights from all different sources. And then it'll show you, if there's levels of biases in there, and then you can actually dive deeper if you then want to read the entire article and everything like that. So it's it is what it is when it comes to the media, and it seems like there's no safe haven anymore when it comes to trying to find something that's not necessarily. See, I don't even want center. I just want factual. That's the problem. There's no factual safe haven of news anymore. You have now a very divided and polarized media where you have very hard right media, very hard left media. You have some centrist media, but even the centrist media still has some left or right leanings to it. So you have to be very discriminatory when you're talking about looking at the news. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And that's why, I try to use these aggregators. And I would recommend them. You still have to do a judgment call because they will use their own, again, personal subjective opinions of what is considered right and left. Like they say CNN is not really far left. I would highly disagree with what All Sides says about that, allsides.com. But at least with All Sides, you kind of get a wide picture, a big picture of news coverage for one article. You see both sides of the aisle. So at least there's that. At least you have that, and at least you have something that you can use to kind of get away from just a one-sided account of any news item of the day, really. But yeah, Canada is a huge disappointment. Virtually, I think that Canada is virtually hopeless at this point. They're kind of, they technically belong to the UK because they still are beholden to the Queen. So it doesn't surprise me that they're kind of kind of like the UK. They're the UK light. They're not as cucked. You know, I don't really like using that word too much, but you gotta call them how you see them. The UK is really messed up. Canada is getting there. Not quite UK messed up, but they're on the path. They're on that path, that's for sure. So I do hope that Canadians wake up. And I do hope that they see the light eventually. And speaking of the UK, this next item, actually, news item that I want to talk about, actually has to do with the UK. You know, what in the world happened? Hold up, something went super goofy on me here. Wow. Huh. I'm trying to show a web page and it went bananas here on me. There we go. Here it is. So the United Kingdom's first Chick-fil-A location will be closing in light of protests. So liberals, SJWs, LGBTQ, silent R, carrot, you know, rune symbol, whatever. Let's call them like Dave Chappelle called them, the alphabet people. The the alphabet people really don't like Chick-fil-A because they're Christian. And actually, this article is very left-leaning. It really is. It's incredibly biased. But they mentioned something in this article. Well, I'll get into that in a minute, actually. What's happening here is Chick-fil-A for a long time has been wanting to go into Europe. And I don't think... Oh, yeah, I can actually... Hold on. Let me interact. There we go. So, for a long time, Chick-fil-A has been wanting to go into England, right? And it's been a bit of a struggle for them because there are so many there's so many liberals there, and the country is really messed up. They actually, they arrest you for posting stuff on Facebook that they deem offensive. So you have a lot of people that have been fighting against companies like Chick-fil-A. And here in the United States, you've had companies like Hobby Lobby that are being fought against by SJWs and the like. And they're saying that Chick-fil-A's views are controversial. I don't know what's controversial about them because, honestly, whatever personal beliefs the company has, they have never discriminated against anybody. They have never told anybody, oh, wait, you're gay? No, we're not going to give you chicken. Wait, you're trans? You're a dude with junk? You're a woman with some junk? No. You're not going to get the waffle fries. No. They've never done that. Never. There is not one report of any sort of discriminatory behavior, bad behavior. Actually, the one video that I saw about Chick-fil-A where there was one lady that was being rude and was caught on video being rude. She was being rude to a soldier because the soldier asked, if there's a veteran's discount. So it was a liberal. I assume it's a liberal. Maybe I'm wrong. But it was someone who had an issue with veterans asking for a discount. What the hell? But one thing that they mentioned in this article, because they're saying, Chick-fil-A is a very bad company because they support support organizations like the Salvation Army, which are against LGBTQ rights, apparently. I'm not aware of that. And I have an app here that um let me see. I don't know if I don't know if it shows that, because this is an app that gives you like an idea where companies stand on major political issues. Maybe it doesn't show up here. I probably should have prepared this beforehand instead of trying to do it live. Yeah, I guess that doesn't show up. I guess because it's an organization, it's not a company. Okay, well, I was not aware, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was not aware that the Salvation Army. I have reservations against the Salvation Army for other reasons. I think that the Salvation Army is not really a great organization for other reasons. But I had never heard about them being anti-LGBTQ. See, they say this right here, that the Salvation Army, Paul Anderson Youth Home, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, basically if you're Christian and you just don't believe in gay marriage, or you don't believe that science is full of fairy tales, as the left does, then apparently you're a bigot. Unfortunately, we believe in science. We believe in biology. We believe in genetics. Who'd have thunk? So, so I have a problem though with Chick-fil-A in this scenario, because they really should not bend over and appease these people. This is something that's happened in the past with, conservative, either comedians, actors, companies, like in this case, organizations, political speakers, things of that nature. You don't apologize. You don't apologize. You never apologize for something that is just right. That's right, G. Gallon. Never apologize. There was this guy, the guy that played Slater on Saved by the Bell. I can't remember his name, but he said that you shouldn't give puberty blockers to children. And he got some huge backlash, and he did the stupidest thing you could do. He apologized. That was very bad of him. He should not have done that. Chick-fil-A should not close in the UK. They should say to those people, you know what? We're going to stay open. Screw you. Come on in and have a sandwich. That's really what they should do. I would do that. If I was the owner, I'd say, screw you, have a sandwich. On the house. I'd even give them a sandwich for free. I'd say, you're hungry, you're cranky, eat some chicken, and shut the hell up. Jimmy Dore? Jimmy Dore? Who's that? I don't know who that is. Troll ED0B says Eternal Abyss is Jimmy Dore. I don't know who that is. So you're gonna have to educate me on that. Maybe I'm missing the reference. But really, the thing is, Chick-fil-A made a big mistake for closing down, and I hope it's not a permanent closure, and I hope that they reopen, and they really should. And if there's anybody in the UK that's listening to me, get a franchise. Get a Chick-fil-A franchise. Let's open like 50 of them in the UK. All right? Let's open 50 Chick-fil-A's in the UK. All right, well, hey, if he says that, I agree with him. So I'm not gonna say no to that. Let me adjust my microphone. It's kind of dropping on me. Here we go. All right. No, I would say, yeah, do it. Oh, an ad came up here. Hold on. This established says, show them on the doll where the buffalo touched you. Yeah. Apparently the chicken did something very bad to them. Who knows? I don't understand, and it really frustrates me when I hear about companies that just cower to the mob. It really frustrates me. And what was the term that I heard about this? The heckler's veto. Um, this was something that I heard. I heard Ben Shapiro talk about this when it comes to free speech and such, and it kind of applies in this situation too because you can't have this mob mentality. You can't have the heckler's veto when someone is expressing an opinion, and that mostly applies to someone who's just talking or what have you. But it applies. I find it that it applies to situations like this too, where if I have a company or an organization or even just a freaking lemonade stand and I happen to be Christian or Catholic and I happen to be conservative or even not even Christian, let's even forget about the Christian part. Let's just say I'm conservative, which I am, and I don't believe in certain things, but it's never spilled into my business. I've never said, "Okay, I don't agree with gay marriage, so I'm not going to sell lemonade to gays." No. And when it comes to, and I know some people would come back to me and say, well, what about the baker stuff when people want weddings and such like that? Well, the thing is this. In general, you should serve anybody. But a business, apart from someone being gay or not, they can choose who they want to serve. So it's not necessarily a discriminatory thing. It's a business has a right to refuse service if they don't agree with whatever they don't agree with. Like but in the past, it used to be no shoes, no shirt, no service in a lot of 7-Elevens, for example. I remember that. And if someone went in with no shoes or no shirt, they wouldn't provide them any services. So if that's the case, that 7-Eleven can do that for someone with no shoes and no shirt, why is everybody making a big deal? Especially when Chick-fil-A goes out of their way to not discriminate. They go out of their way for it. At least if they would say, hey, Chick-fil-A, chicken sandwiches only for the straights. Okay, I can understand people getting a bit angry at that. I could get that. But they've never done that. They've never done that. So this whole thing that the liberals have against Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby is ridiculous. And the thing is this. If conservatives did the same with liberal companies, forced companies to shut down because they don't agree with them, not because they did anything bad, just for the fact that they're a liberal company, I will guarantee you that the left would be screaming their heads off. They have a right to do, blah, blah, blah. They would start arguing the same things that conservatives argue about. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. But of course, they're going to be biased, and they're going to just be what they are and be hypocrites, and that's what it is. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. And I think I lost my transparency here, so it's all right, no problem. So moving on, there's some interesting news about actually Adam Schiff. I think I'm gonna save that for last, though. I'm gonna talk about, since we're talking about international governments right now and things are happening internationally. Let's keep on that trend. Here's an interesting little tidbit that's for those that are following kind of what's going on in Israel. Bibi, poor Bibi, he was not able to put a coalition government together, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your opinion. Some people don't like Bibi, and some people do. He was not able to form a coalition government. So now his opponent, the guy on the right, I don't remember his name, and I know I'm very ill prepared for the stream. I apologize. I almost didn't stream tonight. I didn't really. I was teetering on pushing it a day, but I figured, well, let's try and be consistent, do a weekly stream either on a Wednesday or a Thursday or something like that. So I'm trying to be consistent, you know. Trying, that's the key word. And but the interesting thing about this is that I didn't realize this, but Netanyahu, if he would have formed a coalition government, he would have had a fifth term, number 5. I find that fascinating. I didn't realize that you could be president so many times in Israel. That's a fascinating thing. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. Um, I honestly don't know because the way things are here in the United States, and I've seen this happen in Europe as well. People, these kind of lifelong politicians, life-term senators, and things of that nature. I'm very, I'm kind of against that. I don't think that a lifetime of being in politics is a positive thing. I think that term limits are a good thing and they're needed because you could have people in government. If it's a life term, they're going to go in government because it's an easy job in the sense that they don't really have to do any sort of manual labor. They don't have to really use their brains too much. They just show up, warm the seat, vote yay or nay, talk a few talking points, and then go home and have some chicken. And depending on what political party you're on, you might go to Chick-fil-A, you might not. Something like that. But this was, this whole election that happened in Israel kind of made some news. I was surprised it didn't make as much news as it did because there was a lot of controversy. There's scandals that Netanyahu is mired in, and it affected the polls. And it's kind of unfortunate that it's turning into a liberal government because the new government, the guy wants to turn into a liberal unity government, which that's kind of scary to think about because whether you like Israel or not, and whether you like the fact that we support Israel or not, it's a positive thing, I think, to have allies in the Middle East and around the world. And Israel has been safe mostly because it's been a very, very conservative government-run country. Generally, the governments have been mostly conservative. I haven't heard, and I could be wrong because I'm not super well informed about the history of Israel's governments. To my knowledge, they've been mainly, even I think Ariel Sharon, I don't think he was a very liberal leader, to my knowledge. So I think that Israel may be in for some rough times, especially if the new government don't appreciate what America has been doing and is doing, has been done in the past, is doing, and will possibly do in the future. If they don't appreciate that and they bite the hand that feeds them, it may end up pretty bad for them. But who knows? I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. I think it's better for governments to be more conservative leaning in general. So we'll see. And speaking of governments that kind of fell apart, also the Italian government kind of collapsed recently. There was this whole coup attempt that happened in Italy, and it kind of succeeded. Salvini pretty much got ousted because he did what I feel, and I talked about this a little bit in previous streams, but I feel that he did kind of a stupid move because he was trying to consolidate things in a certain way. And it could be, some have speculated that he did this move on purpose to cause the collapse, so then he would come back with an even stronger coalition because he had a lot of opposition. And it very well could be a long-term game that he's playing. Salvini. It's possible. It's definitely possible. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. But recently, coming back to the United States, we're going to talk about American politics now again. Because that's the crux of the show. This is the main point where we want to talk about America, we want to talk about politics, and as you can see up on the screen, let's talk a little bit about this derp, about Pelosi. So there was a censure brought onto the floor against Adam Schiff. They wanted to censure Adam Schiff for his just absolutely disgusting, unethical, and just facetious and disgusting display in the hearing where he just made up the transcript on his own regarding the Ukraine call between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine. And it was ridiculous. It was a joke. And I don't mean a ha-ha joke, because he's going to try and say, oh, he did. In fact, he said it. He tried to defend himself by saying it was partially in jest. No. So they brought this, they tried to bring the censure to a vote. And of course, this genius here blocked it. So I was very frustrated when I heard about this, because this is yet another example of how feckless and ineffective the Republicans are. When Bush was in office, Harry Reid essentially blocked the Senate. Nothing would happen in the Senate. And the Republicans just fiddled their thumbs. Twiddled their thumbs. They didn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. They didn't do anything. Then when Obama was president, initially he had a supermajority of Democrats. So he just crammed down legislation down the throat of America, whether people liked it or not, which most polls said they didn't. But they didn't care. They had their own agenda. They didn't give a rat's ass about the American people or the will of the American people or what they liked, what they didn't like. They didn't care about anything. So, excuse me. So, now, before I go into the now, after they lost the supermajority, the Republicans were able to the Republicans, even with the majority, they had won back the majority, they still weren't able to get nothing done under Obama. Apart from the fact that Obama had veto power, they just didn't get anything done in the Senate and the House. They were roadblocked by the Democrats, even though the Democrats were the minority. And now we're in the similar situation as before, where we have a kind of a split. We have a House majority of Democrats and a Senate majority of Republicans. And it seems like they're feckless. It seems like they can't get anything done. Except maybe someone has been listening to me. Or not necessarily to me, but they've been listening to people that have been very unhappy with the Republicans in action. And what happened was this. This is a picture of what happened recently. I believe this happened, if not this morning, today. I think this happened today, if I'm not mistaken. Republicans were trying to get access to what Schiff was doing in his private hearings, because he was doing these private impeachment hearings and kicked out Republicans. And it's a secure location. It's a SCIF. And they stormed the castle. They went in there, cell phones and all. They broke the rules. So you're not allowed to bring a cell phone in the SCIF. They just stormed in. Schiff ran like a scared child. He didn't even confront them. They went in. They started yelling. The Republicans went in, started yelling at the Democrats about what they were doing. and the Democrats ran scared. They ran scared. So, as much as I complain about the Republicans, every once in a while, they get a spine, apparently. Every once in a while, they get some, they get some gumption. They grow a pair, apparently, every once in a while. And it's good to see that. I wish that they had been this way under W. I wish they would have been this way under Obama. I wish they would have been this way even in previous administrations that I may or may not have been around for or even cared about. But let's see what happens moving forward. They did a press release after this whole thing. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to go into all that. I just wanted to talk about this because it's glorious. It's glorious that they finally started hammering on the Democrats instead of just talking and talking and talking. You know? It's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that there's so much seemingly nothing that the Republicans do. So it's refreshing to see something like this. It really is, and I do hope that the Republicans, that right now that they grew a spine, I really hope that they keep that spine in their backs because they really do need to man up a bit as a party. They need to really need to step up their game. Because the Democrats and Pelosi, they're running circles around them right now, and it's very frustrating. And I want to see some action here. I want to see things like this. I want to see Republicans defend America. That's really what I want to see. I want to see the Republicans defend the United States from Democrats. Because the Democrats have proven themselves over and over and over again. And some people may say this is a harsh assessment of the Democrats. I don't believe so. My assessment of the Democrats is that they are essentially domestic terrorists. Everything that they stand for is contradictory and against the Constitution of the United States. Schiff and people like Schiff have broken their oath of office. Oh, and speaking of people breaking their oath of office, there is some news that I wanted to mention briefly about Elijah Cummings. He passed away, and condolences to his family and everything. I'm not going to be mean or anything, but everybody's talking about how wonderful he was as a representative. I'm not going to pretend that he was a good man. He did some very bad things as a representative. Baltimore was a garbage heap. He abandoned his city long ago and enriched himself off the back of the poor of Baltimore. So no, I don't think he was a really good man. I don't think he was a giant, as people were saying. And I think that wherever he is, good luck. I don't know where he is. I'm not going to make that commentary, but all I'm going to say is that I don't believe in this don't speak ill of the dead. Yeah, the Rat King is dead. Yeah, G. Gallon. That's a good way to put it. His district was just overrun by rats. He basically represented all the rats. Yeah, I don't blame you. Let me take a look at what you said before, G. Gallon. They don't stand up for their base and brought them to power. Oppression of conservatives have only gotten 10 times worse under Trump, and whites are directly under attack at this point. But all they do is disavow white nationalism. Well, Republicans really have not defended well. There have been a few loud voices, but very few. And I think people shy away. Excuse me one second. I think people shy away. Republicans shy away from trying to defend anything that's race related, because it's going to be equated to white supremacy, which is a problem. if that equivalency sticks. Even though white nationalism and white supremacy aren't necessarily like, if you look at textbook definitions, I don't believe they are the same. I don't believe they are. And I think, frankly, I'm not going to get into a whole racial discussion, but the only thing that I'm going to say is, like, as a Catholic, my belief in general is that we are all the children of God, and we are all of equal dignity. And as such, we should treat each other with dignity that is deserving, because we are all, all children of God. So everyone should be defended, including whites. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be straight. It's okay to be of European descent. And it's about time we stop vilifying, at least the left. It's about time the left stops vilifying masculinity. It stops vilifying heterosexuality. It stops vilifying whites. It's really time that we stop this. Well, they stop this, not we. We don't do that. So it really needs to be addressed. And I really wish that politicians would step up and say, hey, we're not going to play this game. Everybody deserves the rights that are enshrined in our Constitution. Everybody deserves a fair shake. Everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves to be treated well. You can't discriminate, no matter what, which includes people that are white, which includes heterosexuals. It just needs to stop. You have, like, the extinction protests. They pretty much outed themselves. No qualms. They just said it. Their goal is to take down governments and to show that being straight is bad. And that's true, G. Gallon. Diversity quotas are discrimination, yeah. If someone is being assessed to go into any sort of position of work, education, what have you, and race is the primary reason someone gets in, not because they actually deserve it, yeah, that's discrimination. I've known people that were discriminated against going into universities. I've known people that lose jobs just in certain, like, STEM fields, because they're trying so hard to get women into STEM fields. If a woman applies to a job and a man applies to the job, the woman is twice as likely to get that STEM job versus the man. Regardless of qualifications, they could be equally qualified. The man could be more qualified, or the woman could be more qualified. It doesn't matter. She's twice as likely to get it just for the fact that she happens to have a vagina. She happens to be female, and they want to have more females in STEM fields. I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't think that's a good idea in general. How are you supposed to be, like, the best of the best in your company if you're not hiring the best of the best? You're hiring based off of, we need a black guy in that desk. Oh, we need an Asian guy in this desk. Oh, we need a Latino in this desk. Oh, we need a white guy over there. So we're all balanced. Not one discussion about actual skill. Not one discussion about actually what kind of contribution these people make. G. Gallon says, affirmative action is a racist policy. No wonder white male suicides are off the charts. They are being held back for the benefit of pet. Yeah. And inept whores. Yeah, pet niggers and inept whores. Well, see, this is the thing. Affirmative action, when it was enacted, because there was a lot of discrimination. I'm trying to be nice with the words because I am on YouTube, so I'm trying to not get myself banned from them, at least this quickly. That's why I'm a little hesitant to say certain words. But when affirmative action was implemented, at least in the 19, I think it was 1960 something that it was implemented. If my memory is not playing tricks on me, I could be wrong on the year. So if I am, please correct me. Thank you, G Gallon. Yeah, I'll try and be careful. Uh, um, at the time, because there were so many racial tensions happening between blacks and whites, it made sense for back then for affirmative action to be implemented to force integration, because there are some places that they didn't want to integrate. So I get it. I get why it was implemented back then, and I understand the reasoning behind it. And at the time, it did make sense. But in this day and age, in 2019, no. It doesn't make sense at all to have that. Now, nobody really looks at this sort of stuff. Nobody looks at race, and like if I was hiring someone, I don't look at someone's race and go, "Oh, you're at the top of your class, you're really qualified, you got some great projects, but you're black." Sorry, no. Yeah, they did. They did. The government did force integration because there were certain things in the certain places in the South. G. Gallon is saying they made whites go to mixed schools at gunpoint. They did, because there were some counties. I think it was counties and some boards of education and some. I don't know if it was entire states, but there were several areas in the South that were defying federal law. So the government had, because it was federal law, the government could step in with guns and force people to comply. And this is an important lesson. Well, G. Gallon, maybe not. The problem with states' rights versus federal will trump state rights. But the thing is this: the important lesson to learn about all that, whether you agree or not. My thing about this whole federal government forcing people to do things, that should be something that should be kept in mind at all times. At all times when legislating what a person, like right now, you have people legislating what people can say. There's thought police happening right now. When this sort of thing happens, the government can come in and use their guns to force you to do something. And the question that everyone should ask, whether you are conservative or you are liberal, do you want your government to come in to you, point a gun to your head and say, "Don't say that word," or "You have to do this," or "You have to give your kid hormone blockers"? Do you want your government doing that? I personally think that's bad. I do not want my government force you to bake a cake and wax those balls. Exactly, G. Gallon. Yep. Do you want government to have a gun pointed to your head at all times, taking away your freedom of choice for whatever that choice may be? I'm having some internet connection issues, it seems. But what I was saying was, it's a good point what G. Gallon said about forcing to bake a cake or wax, men's testicles because they think they're women. Which, if I don't know if you heard, but all of the dudes' cases got thrown out the window. So he lost his cause. He was citing these businesses for human rights violations, and they got thrown out. So maybe there is a little bit of sanity in the world. Maybe. But anyways, that's the big takeaway for me about all these crazy laws that liberals want to implement to force people to behave in a certain way. And it's a dangerous precedent to set, whether you're a conservative or a liberal, to want your government to force people to do something in a certain way. You should, as a it's tempting for conservatives to see liberals say, "Oh, we should have people not say certain words or say or act in a certain way or do certain things," and it's very tempting for conservatives to go, "Hey, we should do that too. We should go to their level," which we shouldn't. We shouldn't. G. Gallon says, yes, he lost, but he still won in terms of changing the outlook. In what sense? I'm not sure I follow. I'm not sure I follow that line of thinking. I would think that because his case was summarily all his cases were summarily thrown out, like none of them. The only thing that he could do is just play the victim at this point, saying, "Oh, woe is me, the governments and the judicial system is discriminatory." That's the most thing that he can do now. But he's already made himself a fool over and over and over again. So he's not gonna. Ultimately, what's gonna happen, I think, he's just gonna hurt the LGBT cause more than anything. Yanis will still claim victory in the sense that the president may have been a legal loss, but is now on everyone's radar. More trainers are going to go out there and demand. Well, G. Gallon, you do make a good point, because it could turn into the same thing like baking a cake for a gay wedding. Gay couples go out of their way now to find bakeries that will refuse service just so they could sue them. So there's definitely a chance that you're gonna have trannies. They're gonna go around. They're gonna try and find places that that won't wax his balls, and they could use that to try and force this legislation through. And unfortunately, you have countries that are just losing their minds, like Ireland, that they're allowing all sorts of crazy crap now. Ireland has gone off the deep end recently. You have these governments that are just bending over backwards for these people, regardless of legality, ethics, morals, what have you. And it's a sad state of affairs. I hate to end a stream in a bit of a black pilling or a nihilistic kind of philosophical musings, but we are in a pretty bad shape in the world. Conservatives, it's definitely an erosion of morals. G. Gallon says it's an erosion of morals, even though legally his challenge was denied. If it wasn't someone as crazy as Yanev, the case may have turned out differently. He was too much of a twisted predator. Yeah, there may come around the time where a tranny will come about, sue a company, and may have a more reasonable argument and a reasonable case where the courts will find in his favor. And that's very true. It's a possibility, which is why I'm happy at least to hear about, at least here in the United States, the Republican Party and Trump, they've been putting constitutional judges in all levels of our judicial system, because we had a lot of activist judges all over the place, which is bad. So, as bad and as grim as things seem to be, there's a glimmer of hope. And the fact that they denied his case, that's a little glimmer of hope, I find. It may not be a whole lot of hope to latch on to, but it's something. It's something, at least. Though you have a glimmer of hope there, and then you have uh, who knows what's going to happen here in the United States. Like in Texas, there's a case where a mother wants to raise her boy as a girl, wants to give the boy hormone blockers, etc., and the father is fighting to prevent that. And oddly enough, this case had a jury in it, I believe, and that's kind of weird to me. I don't know why this would have a jury in it. And the jury said that, yeah, the mother should be able to raise the child um, as a girl and give the child, hormone blockers and puberty blockers and essentially commit child abuse. But now the judge has to make a final decision on this because it's raised a lot of controversy, and the judge actually had to block their Twitter because it got so rampaged by people online. The outrage and the backlash was immense. So we'll see what the judge does. If the judge overturns what the jury said, who knows? I don't know how that's going to turn out. I hope for the sake of the boy that he's raised as a boy and he's not abused psychologically and physically in that manner. The mother of this child that wants to do this, that's abhorrent. It's horrible. It's horrible to think that a mother would do that to their own child. I can't even imagine doing something to my child that would forever ruin him physically and mentally. I mean, if he becomes an adult and then as an adult he does stuff outside of my control, then that's different. But when they're a child, they're helpless. They don't know anything. Well, if the judge upholds what the G. Gallon is saying, he will undergo the transition and be held up as an idol to twist the minds of other children. That could be a sad reality, yeah. Unfortunately, that's definitely a possibility if the judge does not overturn what the jury decided. If the judge instead says, well, he's going to have to wait until he's an adult, which if the judge has any sort of brain, that really should be the ruling. You shouldn't make decisions that could really hurt the child. You have to the judicial system for family court really should be acting in the best interest of the child and its safety. So if I was a judge in that case, I haven't heard all the details, just the very superficial stuff that I've heard. Let me get rid of this picture here. It's kind of irrelevant in this discussion. Hey, thank you for the ice cream. Ice cream truck song. Yeah, it's a long one. I got to pick a better song for the ice cream donation because that one's way too long. But but anyways, thank you. I missed the name and I apologize. So whoever donated that, thank you very much, sir. Hold on, let me go over there so I can see who did that. 1 second. Let me go to my channel. Oh, it's G Gallon. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the ice cream and for the lemon. You donated those two. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, so what I was saying is that a judge really, really should care about the well-being of the child. And apart from the fact that I don't know all the details of why the jury would make that sort of decision, anything that would affect the child long term physically and mentally, I would just my judgment would be, listen, while he's young, you just have to raise him as he is. When he turns 18 and he is of age and he is independent, then he can make his own decisions. And if at that time he still feels he wants to be a woman, even though, like me personally, I think that's ridiculous, I don't agree with that, But legally, once he's an adult, the courts can't compel him to not do that unless the courts decide that he is mentally unfit and he's a danger to himself and to others. And that's a whole different slew. That's insanity. That's a whole different thing, which one I guess could argue there's some insanity there. But apart from that, I'm not going to get into that whole thing. The problem with judges playing with the lives of children in this manner is it's just a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing. So hopefully the judge will do the right thing in the case of this child, and perhaps those little glimmers of sanity that every once in a while bubble up and you hear about them in the news. I think there's more of that. I like to be hopeful. I like to be hopeful and say, I hope that there's more of these little glimmers of sanity in the world that the news just does not report on. And we don't hear too much about it. But there are people out there I see on Twitter, as much as Twitter is a cesspool, I do see that there are people trying to do the right thing. They are pushing against this horrible liberal culture, if you want to call it a culture, that is essentially trying to take down society, is take down governments and take down morality and take down ethics, take down everything. G. Gallen says this used to be looked at as a vicious form of abuse. Crazy women have done this through time, and it's only now that it's being held up as a virtuous act. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. You would have a mother that would dress a child up like a boy in a girl with girl's clothing. That would create serious psychological issues for the boy, and the mother would be hailed as an insane person. Now she's hailed as a hero. And in the past, mothers would be called abusers, and fathers would be called abusers if they did that to their child. Now they're called heroes. And it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's not healthy psychologically. It's not healthy physically to do these things to your child. And the fact that governments, and our government, the government of the United States, for example, is not stepping in to say, hey, hold on. All right, let's be reasonable about this. Then I'm afraid of where things will go. Because our government is not stepping up to the plate to do what they need to do. Kind of going back to the discussion about Republicans not having a spine. I mean, if conservatives really want to fight this culture war, I think the problem is this, though. I think conservatives and Republicans for a long time kind of gave up on the culture war. For a while, there was this whole discussion about, that a culture war was happening and that conservatives were losing it because they were afraid. They were afraid of being called homophobes. They were afraid of being called racist. They're afraid of being called intolerant. And now you have someone like Trump in the office who literally could not care about the left. Does not care at all about their opinion. He in fact relishes in their rage. He relishes in driving them up the wall. He's the king of trolls. He's amazing. And I think this revived some conservatives. It definitely has. I mean, even for myself, I was never, in my private life, I was never a quiet individual in the sense that if I had an opinion about something, I would express it, whether I agree with it or not. If I didn't agree with gay marriage, I would say so. And some people would ask me, questions, and some people would attack me for it, and I just never backed down. And the problem, though, was that I was a minority. I was one person versus, I don't know, like a student body at my university, or an entire corporation, if I worked for a company, or if I was, meeting people socially, the areas that the groups of people that I hung out with were primarily left leaning. There weren't a lot of conservatives, or at least they weren't vocal. You know, so that becomes a problem when conservatives get so fearful about what other people think. And the fact that Trump became president, it even had an effect on someone like myself who already was vocal. I just didn't go and start spouting all this stuff on social media because I was trying to be civil. And I know many conservatives and Republicans are like that too. They don't want to get into a big conflict, and I get it. It can be very taxing. It can be very tiring. But you know what? You have to fight. You have to fight. You have to stand up for what's right. And I joined Twitter after Trump got elected because I was so fired up. I was like, this is the best ever. I'm going to join Twitter and I'm just going to, I'm going to not care at all what happens. And I did. And now I decided I was going to start streaming, and now I'm streaming. So here I am. And I think so far things have been going well. I mean, yeah, I've actually already. This is the funny thing too. Like I'm a virtual nobody online, and I've already gotten like death threats. Like this one black lady on Twitter was like, "Oh, you should." I may find. Let me see if I find that message. Actually, I wonder if I still have it. I don't think I deleted it. It was only like it's not often I get attacked online. Actually, it's actually very, very few and far in between that I get attacked online. This was a long time ago. This was like several years ago, shortly after I joined Twitter. Hold on, let's see. Let's see. Oh, no, wait a minute. This was a tweet. She tweeted it. And I took a screenshot of it. So I'm going to have to dig around to see if I find it. But she would pretty much say that, someone should physically assault me. I don't remember exactly what she suggested, but she was saying that someone should physically assault me and teach me a lesson because I'm conservative or I supported Trump. And the tolerant left. So I've had that. I've had people insult me left and right online, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny to see that happen. And it kind of validates you. It kind of makes you feel like you're validated in your fight when people insult you in such a way. So I don't let it bother me. And I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep expressing my opinions. I'm gonna keep going. And as long as it's convenient for me to stream and it's the right thing to do, I'm gonna keep doing it. So maybe the stream isn't going to end on such a nihilistic and black pill note after all. I do believe I do believe that there's hope. I like to think that there's hope. The fact that so many conservatives are online and so many, like over 60 million, are here in the United States that support conservative ideas, and a lot of the polls show that. Hey Herb, Bud Green, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Since a lot of people, I see a lot of people online that are conservative, and it brings some hope. It definitely brings some hope to my heart and my mind. It makes me think that things aren't as bad as things could be. I've been seeing a lot of chitter chatter in the chat about Kitty. Is Kitty in chat right now? For those that watch my stream and may not know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about Kitty, his name is Thomas Dahl. He is from the Denmark, if I'm not mistaken, and he is quite the character. And he's a bitwave aficionado, whether he likes to admit it or not. Well, I mean, I know he lurks all the time, G. Galen. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I was wondering if he's actually here, like right now, because people seem to be addressing him directly. Yesterday was a bad day for Kitty Herb. Why? Well, let's do this. I don't want to get into like bitwave drama and such. On my episode here. So what I'll do is this. I think I'll conclude the stream for today because this is pretty much everything that I wanted to say for the topics of my 19th episode. And if folks want to support someone like myself, you like to hear what I like to say, please consider donating at streamlabs.com/theeternalabyss. It's on the screen. Conservatives are being shadow banned, shut down. None of my tweets get the light of day unless I do crazy things to get people to see my tweets. There's ways for me to get likes and retweets. Otherwise, I get nothing. I get zero exposure. YouTube, once YouTube realizes the topics that I'm talking about, if I'm not big enough to be on their radar as of yet, but if I grow a little bit, I can guarantee you, they'll be more than happy to shut me down. Oh, sorry, I was reading chat. Someone got his site shut down? I thought it was just his chat that got shut down. His entire website got shut down? Oh my god. Wow. His chat got shut down for violating the terms of service. I saw that. Oh, okay. Okay, so it wasn't his website. It was his chat. All right. But as I was saying, I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm going to conclude this stream, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the stream, and then I'm going to restart a new stream that's going to be solely on Bitwave. So if anyone wants to join in and just have some fun and chat and everything like that, I'll be on the microphone. And we could just do a casual stream afterwards, like an after party. An after stream party kind of deal. So again, as I was saying, conservatives are being attacked. If you want to support conservatives like myself and others, please consider doing so. The link is up on the screen there. I want to thank everybody who watched on DLive. I want to thank everybody that watched on Bitwave, especially because it is the home of free speech. I can say whatever I want on Bitwave, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Dispatch. And I want to thank everybody on Periscope and YouTube. I want to wish everyone a wonderful night. Have a great weekend and keep fighting for the conservative causes. We need to keep fighting. And I wish everyone a wonderful night. Thanks, G. Gallon, for the lemons. Thank you, sir. All right. Like I said, I'm going to stop and then I'm going to restart just for our local Bitwave after party. So have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you.